Hello, the video you're about to watch was produced by the Highway Patrol Division and addresses the issue of distracted driving. Not only does distracted driving result in thousands of collisions investigated by DPS officers each year, distracted drivers create a very real danger for every department employee that respond to collision scenes and traffic incidents. On May 6, 2013, we lost Officer Tim Huffman as a result of a distracted driver. In that tragedy, the DPS family was impacted in a very personal way. And while we know the pain of loss, thousands of families across this country also experience the same pain and loss due to the collisions caused by distracted driving. As an agency, we have an obligation to focus our enforcement efforts on those driving behaviors that create great risks to the citizens of Arizona and any person traveling our highways. Distracted driving is an increasingly dangerous activity that is worthy of our attention. In addition to an increased enforcement focus on distracted driving, it is important to ensure all DPS employees, both sworn and civilian, are aware of the dangers associated with distracted driving. The fact is, we all drive distracted from time to time, and as department employees, we should set an example to Arizona citizens and to our families by changing our driving behavior to avoid this dangerous activity. It is clear there needs to be a societal shift in this country that no longer tolerates the behaviors associated with distracted driving. That shift must begin with each one of us, both professionally and personally. Please watch this video and take to heart the message, as it applies to each one of us. If you find value in this message and wish to share it with family or friends, the department will gladly make it available to you. Thank you.
Distracted driving is defined as any activity that could divert a person's attention away from the primary task of driving. Civilian driving and law enforcement driving present challenges that are not distinctly unique from each other. Some examples of distracted driving are eating while driving, grooming while driving, reading and driving, adjusting the radio, and passengers in the vehicle. Additional distractions include operating a mobile data computer, a police radio, a cell phone, texting, and prisoners in the vehicle. All drivers experience distractions in different driving environments that challenge their abilities to safely operate a vehicle. There are three types of driving distractions. 1. Visual distractions. 2. Manual distractions. 3. Cognitive distractions. Visual distractions result in a driver's eyes off the road. Manual distractions results in a driver's hands off the wheel. And cognitive distractions take a driver's mind off what they are doing.
Think you know all about distracted driving. Think again. Your eyes are on the road, your hands on the wheel, but your brain isn't geared on driving. So when you're looking at something straight in front of you, you should be able to see it, but you don't. It's just like having tunnel vision behind the wheel. It's because you are cognitively distracted. AAA and the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety partnered with mental distraction expert Dr. David Strayer and his team at the University of Utah to undertake a landmark research project that challenges the current mindset about distracted driving. Building upon previous visual and manual distraction research and 5 decades of aviation psychology looking at pilot distraction, this groundbreaking study focuses on mental distractions, also known as cognitive distraction. Using brain-based metrics, driving simulators, and a first-of-its-kind instrumented vehicle, participants were studied as they engaged in various non-driving behaviors, from listening to the radio or talking on a mobile phone to using voice-activated dashboard apps. With these findings, researchers developed a ranking order for distraction similar to the 5-category rating system used for hurricanes. The study offers evidence that you're not necessarily safer just because your eyes are on the road and your hands on the wheel if your brain isn't geared on driving.
When you're driving down the road, the world is full of all of this visual information, and we have this illusion that we're attending to everything.
People drive thousands of miles every day. We're behind the wheel for hours. And a lot of times we try and alleviate boredom by trying to do all these other kinds of activities. As a consequence of that, we don't actually give driving due diligence in terms of what our responsibilities are to operate a very heavy, expensive piece of equipment without causing harm.
So there's this notion that if our eyes are on the road and our hands are on the wheel, then we're safe drivers. So we wanted to kind of challenge that notion and begin to explore that notion.
The most significant thing about this research is that it focuses specifically on cognitive distraction, which is often ignored.
It's the types of attention diversions that are all in your head.
You're looking at it, you're looking straight ahead. You should be able to see it, but you're not.
Cameras mounted inside the vehicle were used to test the ability to see hazards in the driving environment by tracking eye and head movement. This light task, a state-of-the-art detection response task, or DRT, was utilized to record reaction time. Drivers were to ignore the red light and then trigger a switch when presented with the green light.
But what we're doing in this study that's unique is we're taking 8 different tasks and we're measuring driver behavior, driver performance, while people are doing these very different tasks in a way that hasn't been done before.
Plus 4 equals 8.
When we're doing the studies, if the green light comes on and people don't respond to it because they haven't seen it, that's a potential hazard.
It's really kind of a surrogate for the types of visual information that people are missing all the time in the driving environment.
Yeah, like last night I was at the park,
When people engage in more and more difficult tasks, that they tend to miss more and more of those lights.
It could easily be a pedestrian, it could be another car, and so those misses are extremely problematic.
Rather than trying to anticipate the environment, they may not scan for the threat of a pedestrian in a crosswalk, but respond when that pedestrian does appear, if they do indeed see that pedestrian. We found that interacting with this speech-to-text system delayed response time to the DRT device more than any of the other conditions.
I think it suggests that trying to understand cognitive distraction really does require kind of a scientific effort, and that just using intuitions isn't necessarily sufficient. To the extent that you think distracted driving is a problem now, we expect that it's likely to get much worse with the kinds of things that are coming down the road, so to speak. The science will also help guide some public policy so that we don't design technology that goes into cars that would be unsafe to use. I'm hopeful that as this dialogue progresses, we start to actually say that, you know what, we need to reel in some of these behaviors that are just unsafe and not become totally driven by whatever device is ringing or shining or kind of trying to compete with attention. Some combination of legislation, education, and personal responsibility is really what's necessary in order to really get people to have a safe driving culture.
Distracted driving is a large part of society's driving behavior, making it the #1 safety priority of the U.S. Department of Transportation because it is so significant in driving safety. Many people ask, why doesn't the U.S. Department of Transportation make distracted driving illegal nationally by creating standard legislation governing all states? The reason is, passenger car driving behavior falls under the jurisdiction of the individual states, so the U.S. DOT cannot ban it. Congress has considered a number of laws to prevent distracted driving, but nothing has passed yet. However, many states have passed tough laws against texting, talking on a cell phone, and other distractions. You can visit the state laws link on the distraction.gov webpage to learn more about the distracted driving laws passed into legislation in each state. Additional distracted driving stats. Did you know that at any given moment during daylight hours, over 660,000 vehicles are being driven by someone using a handheld cell phone? Distracted driving delays a driver's reaction time equaling that of a 0.08% BAC. All drivers show some signs of impairment at a 0.08 BAC. Sending or receiving a text takes a driver's eyes from the road for an average of 4.6 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, this equals driving the length of an entire football field, blind. When traveling in a vehicle at 55 miles per hour, 3 seconds of looking at a device equals a car moving 250 feet down the road, almost one football field. Depending on a driver's reaction time, it takes almost another 300 feet to stop the vehicle for a total of 550 feet traveled. Engaging in a visual manual subtask, such as reaching for a phone, dialing and texting, associated with the use of handheld phones and other portable devices, increase the risk of getting into a crash by 3 times. 77% of drivers reported talking on a cell phone while driving. Driving while using a cell phone reduces the amount of brain activity associated with driving by 37%. In 2012, 3,328 people were killed in crashes involving a distracted driver, and an estimated additional 421,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving a distracted driver.
In 500 meters, turn right.
Listed are important safety concerns for DPS employees to remember. Employees should attempt to minimize all non-driving activities contributing to visual, manual, and cognitive distractions. Employees should ensure their vehicle and necessary equipment are properly working by completing a pre-shift vehicle inspection. Employees should complete all non-driving tasks prior to actual driving. For example, adjust mirrors, preparing enforcement equipment, fasten seatbelt, and complete all MDC and telephone communications. Employees shall comply with the agency's policies on texting, cell phone calls, MDC, and radio communications. Employees must remember hands-free devices are not substantially safer than handheld devices. General Order Number 5.2.110 states, the Department of Public Safety prohibits employees, while driving, to utilize any portable electronic device for the purpose of reading or composing email or text messages while the vehicle is in motion. Cell phone conversations shall be conducted with a hands-free device. Caution shall be utilized while reading, receiving, or sending information via the mobile data computer installed in the vehicle.
We've talked a lot about distracted driving, much of it because public officials and law enforcement have identified it as such a danger on our roads. Now, however, police officers are under scrutiny for driving while distracted. If you've looked at the electronics inside the average police cruiser, then you know what's competing for their attention along with the road, and it has its grave dangers. Fair warning, some of them you're about to see in graphic fashion. Our report tonight from NBC's Tom Costello.
Near Fort Worth, dash cam video of a police officer running a red light. And the crash that injured the other driver. The officer admitted he'd been looking at his computer. In Austin, another officer slammed right into a motorcyclist.
Just stay still, please, sir. Please.
The officer told his supervisor he'd been typing on his computer.
Putting some notes in. I just didn't pay attention to stop sign.
While 39 states and D.C. now ban texting while driving, police are generally exempted. Yet from fender benders to fatal accidents, distracted cops have gotten the blame. And a modern police car has a lot of distractions. There's the radio, a cell phone, of course, with email. There's a computer that constantly updates calls, sends and receives instant messages. And there's a camera watching everything.
Every police department who says they don't have a problem with driving, distracted driving, or crashes, has their head in sand.
The challenge, avoiding the very distractions that come with modern policing. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
Traffic Incident Management, or TIM, focuses on how to improve roadway incident management while conducting patrol activities. TIM concepts improve officer safety strategies when dealing with distracted drivers approaching, entering, and exiting incident scenes. Distracted drivers can lead to secondary collisions, potentially involving first responders. TIM concepts apply to first responders positioning resources, personnel, and vehicles to maximize the safety of all involved at a scene, leading to a reduction in secondary collisions involving first responders. Below 100 focuses on watching your speed, wearing your ballistic vest and seatbelt. Below 100 talks about when, what's important now. Is it that important you answer a call or a text? Is it important to search the internet or check a Facebook or Twitter message? Remember, complacency kills. Reducing distractions and eliminating complacency contributes to greater officer safety. Highway Patrol Division Order 2.45 defines the Highway Patrol Division policy on visibility and accountability. This order states officer activities shall be strategically directed to maximize the visible presence, traffic patrols, and responsiveness of patrol officers to emergency situations on Arizona highways. The result of high visibility is increased scrutiny from the public when poor decision-making as a result of distracted driving occurs. Citizens can develop negative impressions or opinions when they see officers or department employees talking on cell phones, texting, or driving distracted. Important resources employees can review are Highway Patrol Division Order 1.01, which prioritizes appropriate enforcement of collision-causing hazardous violations and active management of traffic incidents. General Order 5.2.110 defines approved and unapproved MDC usage for employees. Distractions will never be fully eliminated during patrol activities due to the demanding nature of police work. Radio traffic, MDC communications, and enforcement activities require cognitive multitasking. Employees should minimize unnecessary distractions during patrol driving, which will benefit the officer and the department. It is essential for employees to practice the safest driving habits possible through sound decision-making, training, policy, and procedures. The Department of Public Safety, through its employees, has worked tirelessly throughout a storied history to build public trust and confidence. Multitasking is a myth. There is a perception amongst many drivers that they are good at multitasking. This perception has been scientifically proven to be inaccurate. A driver with visual, manual, and cognitive distractions experiences a decrease in brain activity and can display driving behavior similar to that of an impaired driver. This perception is similar to a person believing they can drive a vehicle safely after they have had a few alcoholic drinks because they are buzzed, not drunk. Decision-making, reaction time, and visual cues are affected, resulting in poor decision-making and dangerous driving behavior. You should continually ask yourself, is your life worth the distraction.
I'm so proud of you.
Today we remember a good man, a loving father, husband, brother.
All right, say hi, Grandma. All right, wave to the camera. Hey, Grandma, wave to the camera. Wave to the camera. Come on, that's it. Come on, wave to the camera. Hey, Grandma. Come on, wave to the camera. Come on, bud. Good job. Smile. Smile.
As the most important part of this agency, department employees, sworn and civilian, are strongly encouraged to make a commitment to modify their driving behavior and eliminate distracted driving.
A heartfelt thank you to Superintendent Dr. Manuel Valenzuela for giving me this opportunity to share one of my greatest passions in life, and that is the saving of lives. I'm a chaplain for the Arizona Department of Public Safety. Most visible division is the state trooper. I am an ordained minister, non-denominational in both my training and ordination. I do weddings, memorial services, child dedications, and virtually everything that a pastor does. But I do not try to take the place of spiritual leaders during my duties. The most stressful thing I do is to give death notifications to families when someone is killed on our highways. Many, if not most, fatalities are caused by distracted drivers. I was nearly killed by a distracted driver in 1998. What did it do to me? I am a commercial pilot, flight instructor in both jets, propellers, and seaplanes. For 3 long years, I could not get a medical and was grounded. I had severe brain damage that I could not even write a check. I broke the headrest on my new Buick Park Avenue with my head. Why? The driver behind me, I was stopped for traffic, was in a loaded large van, looked elsewhere, and according to his own admission, hit me on I-205 east of Portland, Oregon at a speed limit of 70 miles per hour. My abilities to smell and taste were totally gone, but they have come back to some extent. I still cannot smell the drugs when I go into our DPS drug storage evidence room. I am a victim of distracted driving, but thank God I am still alive. Many others are not. As you know, There have been several student fatalities on our roads from this very school that could have been avoided. I have gone on a number of these fatalities to give notice to the families. It is by far the hardest part of my job. Go with me to a young father and 2 children and tell them that the wife and mother is not coming home. She was on her cell phone. This is what a cell phone looks like when it's been dashed around in a car during a fatality. Come along with me to a sporting event on the east side of Tucson where a father and his 3 children are engaged in a Saturday sporting event. Mother was driving west of Tucson using a cell phone. You can only halfway know what it is like unless you have been through it yourself. A personal question. Would you ride along with a friend that had a blood alcohol content of 0.08%, drunk according to state law? But might you be riding along with a friend who is constantly talking on the phone? You will see scientific proof in this presentation that both are equally dangerous. You will see many accidents that are due to distracted driving. Among them are many involving police cars, since they too are at risk. Today, I am not trying to make you fearful of driving. I am trying to tell you to be afraid of distracted driving.
Duties and in their personal vehicles.